Hello. Welcome to another session breakdown for the Bananamelia album, Bananamelia. I'm Amelia, called by some Amelia, and this is track 2, French Press. Hear the sound of the coffee. So, first off, with this track, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the names of the pieces on the record. So, if you are listening to these in order and you've heard Marble Run, you already know that everything was written like from start to finish, like starting with track 1, ending with track 8. Everything kind of through composed, basically, apart from Colour Box, which we'll get to. You'll get there, don't worry. And so when I was making the first track, I was like floundering about a little bit, trying to figure out what everything was meant to sound like. And so it was just called Bossa for a very long time, which is not a particularly inspiring name. And it wasn't until after it was finished that I decided to call it Marble Run, mainly because I was watching this like Dutch marble racing channel called, I think, like Helle's Marble Run. Yelle? I don't know. And so yeah, just like rolling little glass balls down a hill and seeing which one gets there first. And that's kind of like how that song feels to me, like rolling a bunch of little glass balls down a hill. But this one was called French Press before I even actually pressed anything, so to speak, because the idea was that it would be a track that like sounded like coffee, felt like coffee, so a little bit hectic and hyperactive and a tiny bit stressful, but then also delicious and aromatic and slightly tropical. But at the very start, I guess like this might be the image of you preparing the coffee, pouring your little spoonfuls in. But the very first sound I made is this thing that you've already heard in Marble Run, called donk. And when I was talking about the last track, I talked a lot about resampling, which is a technique that is the main thing, the main kind of like audio processing technique on this record, which is where you make a sound through whatever means, synthesizer or recording or manipulating a previously existing sample. You process it, and then you bounce that to audio and then put that into a sampler. And I like it because you can manipulate things in interesting ways in a sampler, and I like the sound of sounds repitched in ways they probably don't want to be repitched. But I didn't have any examples in that one, but I do have an example. Here, I've got the building blocks of the donk. Are you ready for this one? Oh, you might have missed it. I'll play it again. So that's my like weird little sound made in Dext, which is a free VST emulating the Yamaha DX7, the greatest FM the FM synthesizer. And it's a very complicated patch now that I'm looking at it. It's got 5 of these operators are running. And they're all pitched to different things. I can't explain. It is not within the remit of this video series to explain how FM synthesis works. But it's a little bit complicated. And so it took quite a bit, I guess, to make this little kind of slightly harmonically interesting doink. But then that's running through a reverb. So Convology is a free convolution reverb. And basically, like all reverbs are generating a space. They're simulating a space, whether that's a real space they're simulating or a made-up fake space. And the way that a convolution reverb does it is it takes a specially encoded audio file. You can see it represented over here. And then it decodes it to like recreate the space that it was imaging, basically. And this one's very odd. It's like a kind of little, it's called Glass House. So it's got little delays and it's all funny. The next thing it's going through is Smackos Tape Station, which is from the producer Lego Welt, made this little Ableton device. It's mostly just doing saturation, but it's also filtering the sound a bit, and it's got this pitch wobble. And this is basically every sound on Bananamelia that is resampled is run through Smackos Tape Station and EQ8. And so you can see that basically just makes it loud, but it's doing some other cool stuff as well. So then at some point I put it to audio, and then I brought it into this sampler where you can see mainly it's pitched down, and that's immediately more recognizable. It's pitched down, and I've cut off the little tails from the reverb. I remember thinking, well, why don't I just turn the reverb off? And then I tried turning it off, and it sounded worse because it is doing something here. It's just not as dramatic or interesting as something as it's doing over here. And to kind of get the sound that you're actually hearing, it's running through the greatest delay, the greatest VST delay that exists, Valhalla Frequency Echo, which I love a lot. And you can see the delay time is automating. So the sounds that are within the feedback loop are getting sped up, and so their pitch is going up. And then there's just two that are kind of spread in stereo of that exact same effect with a little bit different on the automation. For whatever reason, it is doing something weird. I think because this project was imported from Ableton 10 into Ableton 11. But yeah, that's how you do it. And so I've also got these flex tones that are really pitched down. They're just like a percussion instrument with like a metal bar that you bend to change the pitch. And this little funny kind of synth automation thing with just the LFO rate being automated in funny ways and the tuning. Yeah, it's kind of like an intentionally off-putting intro. But then we get to like the good shit when we hit the scraper break. So this is like, I don't remember where I got this from, but it's a very recut thing of like some cymbals, a scraper, like a gyro, and some toms, I think. And that's really becomes like the heart of the groove of the track. It's cut up. I think these cuts are, I think, basically the same, and then I just like printed that for over here, where you can see it just repeats, unlike the think break, which is like the drums kind of, the signature Bananamelia drums, and the signature a lot of other people's drums, but those are still going heck as a kind of a contrast to the scraper. But here we come into the first kind of proper section of the track. Although I should mention that horrible sound is a steaming wand on an espresso machine being used incorrectly. And when I worked at the radio station 95 BFM, that was a sound that we heard a lot. So I don't know, it's just a sound I always associate with making coffee, although it's not a French press sound, I will admit. So this like little wobble lead, I've called it, which is kind of like almost like a slide whistle or something. I also have the original for that. So it's like, I'm not going to open it because it's another thing that's mad at me for coming from Ableton 10. It'll mess with some of the things. But it's just a very simple like square wave, and the exciting bit is the automation on the LFO. So you can here it sounds a little bit wrong. Some parameters I think have reset themselves, but that's just sampled to audio here. and I've started to cut it. And so as we move into the next section, it's basically cut like a break. And actually cutting this little bit was very annoying and hard, and is not that dissimilar to some of the very intricate think break cuts that are down there. And so, yeah, this section is kind of like, I don't know, this kind of like odd square wave that's not really in tune. Reminds me almost of like a BBC radiophonic workshop thing, or test equipment, or maybe a car alarm. And then down in the bass, we've also got some slightly odd things going on with these very slow portmanteau slides between some of these notes. I don't think it actually ever gets down to the B. And so all together it's sounding a little bit hectic, and underneath it is the kind of the signature Bananamelia piano sound, playing this kind of little elephant walk, little bass chord thing. So I think this was put together before the kind of car alarm lead, because it's doing some nice like voice leading stuff. And obviously I thought I was being very clever, because apart from these little bass walk downs, the like lowest and highest voice are like all a tenth apart. Well, mostly, some of them aren't. But so I must have had some very important things in mind for this piano bit. But I really like these little spread out chords, lots of sixths, making this very simple chord progression sound quite lush, although you wouldn't know it under this. So we've got the ride coming in, and it feels like we're anticipating moving to something a little bit more fun. What do you think? I reckon we're just about there. Yeah, so here we go. New section. Finally we're in kind of a proper groove. The scraper is here, keeping us going with this very regular beat. There's a surprisingly chill think cut, not like what we've heard so far on the record. Kind of insistent ride. This almost sounds like Latin jazz just by itself. And then underneath it, it's the first Amen break cut on Bananamelia. So part of this record, what I wanted to do, what I knew from the start I wanted to do, was mainly stick to like the most classic breaks. And obviously the think is kind of the predominant one that's everywhere. But you gotta have an Amen break, don't you? But I'm not treating it nice. So you can hear with the, let's give it something to go with it so it's not just by itself. You can hear with the, no, too far. You can hear with the think break, it sounds relatively like natural. So basically, to process this, it's, I've just sped it up until it is the right speed for the song, and I've done it in a way that the pitch changes as well. Like naturally, if you speed something up, the pitch goes up as well, and if you want something to be in a different time or a different pitch without doing that, you've got to start using some funky digital algorithms. So the think sounds kind of nice and natural and chill, and the Amen sounds cooked. So this is going through one of those digital pitching algorithms, and I'm really stretching it to its limit. And basically, you can hear the snares, and to kind of a lesser extent the ride, playing these kind of little hectic melodies. And so the idea is that the Amen is kind of taking the place of the wobble lead from before, playing this like kind of abstract atonal little melody. While we just have the those same piano chords, and they're now kind of reinforced by this string. So this is the other like thing that is on every track. It's the way it's used on Marble Run is a bit weird. It's doing kind of like 4-voice, like big pads with like kind of soft attack. But here it's doing what it will basically do for the rest of the record, where it looks like it's playing multiple notes. Those are just octaves. So it's basically playing like the single note line that's kind of doubling the voice leading from the piano, building this kind of almost like baroque little textural moment. And so that's all very nice and chill. The bass has started playing a proper rhythm now, and not doing any stupid weird glides. And yeah, and then there's all of these very heavily layered breaks. And having basically the scraper and the think playing very regular rhythms means I can get away with the Amen going absolutely bananas. Aside from the wild pitch shifting, the processing on it is actually pretty low key. It's got an EQ. We've got a this LA2A clone from Analog Obsession doing some pretty squishy soft compression, and Head Crusher, which I use on basically everything. It's like just like a saturation plugin basically, and you don't even need to tune any knobs. You put it in and it messes with your EQ, it adds some saturation, it squashes everything a little bit, makes it sound a bit gooier and warmer. And yeah, okay, before we go on, I've got to talk about this, because this sound is everywhere on the record. And it's basically just like a little synth run up, but it's running through all of these things. Yeah, so you can hear it's just like a little sawtooth thing with kind of, I think that's just, it's either a pitch envelope or just like badly timed portmanteau. Yeah, so that doesn't sound like anything, but then you've got the bit crusher, Tal bit crusher, my favorite. I always have it 100% wet, and I'm basically using it. It totally destroys the sound, but I love it because these high shelf and low shelf are very useful as just like a very brute force EQ. And you can see I've taken out like all the low, and it's got a very specific character already. So then we've got another convolution reverb, rock Alcatraz, very sinister, very basic EQ, and then this little Ableton basic ping pong delay. Oh, and that sound is like everywhere on the record, so I thought I should highlight it a bit. But so yes, French press is happening. We're finally grooving out. We've had our flat white. Oh no, it's a French press. We've had our, I guess, cup of coffee. And then it's me being annoying again on purpose. So kind of like, I mean, the logic behind sections like this, apart from just it lets you make the track longer if you do very dramatic changes, is I was listening to a lot of early 90s UK hardcore. So this is like a dance music genre. And a lot of the aesthetic of it came from what are called like DJ tools. So these are the pieces of music that are made basically to like help transition between different tracks for DJs. And so a lot of the like really early like UK hardcore DJ tool type things would have these very dramatic section shifts and like changes in tone. And the idea is that it's like you've got this one chilled out record and you've got this one really hyped up record and you want to get between them really quickly. So you've got this, this 3-minute track that like is just there to transition that in a way that sounds musical. But it means that they have lots of things that like chop in and out. Things that go away and then come back dramatically and big dramatic tone shifts. And that's something that I just like got obsessed with putting in my own music. Usually they keep the beat going a bit better than I do, 'cause I'm a little troll, I guess. But the thing about this is that secretly, this is the key to the album, and especially side one of the album, feeling seamless. Because anyone who's heard a DJ set knows that, like, even if the transition is really, really smooth, at a certain point you know that one song is finished and another song is ended. But Bananamelia kind of like tricks you with that by having like these little sections kind of cut dramatically in, and then they might reappear briefly in another track, and it makes you kind of start to question where the seams are between the songs. And so that, like, that's the real trick of it. If you want to do this, for whatever reason, you decide you want to like make Bananamelia 2, that's how you do it. Because even just like making nice little audio blends between track 1 and track 2, it doesn't sound like one big long piece of music. It's only when you start reusing sections and kind of like doubling back and tricking people that they're not quite sure if you're actually up to track 3 yet. Obviously, that kind of only makes sense if you're listening to the record. If you're listening on Spotify, I guess you're like, oh, it's track 4 now. But you're listening on Spotify, so. Okay, here we are. Finally made it to this little breakdown that we've been listening to for like 2 minutes. The bass has dropped out. We've just got the groove. We're building up to something. And here, we've got the strings playing. Look, if you zoom out, you can see it's like the strings play this like, they're 90% of the time they're playing this one thing, and then here and here they play this other thing. And this little melody is anticipating the kind of the big shift, the next big thing that the song does. And that's Maddie's vocals coming in. So Maddie, who performs this beautiful vocal, is Madison van Staden, my partner in music and in life. So me and Maddie make music together as Van Staden and Boom, the VSB, where we kind of share songwriting and production duties, but she sings because she's good at singing and I'm very bad at singing. And she also makes her own music away from me as Moody V. Extremely good. Highly recommend Moody V. And she kindly lent her vocals to this record. Basically all of the vocals you hear are either Maddie or Hannah Renack, our dear friend, who we'll talk about Hannah when we get up to some of Hannah's singing. Yeah, Maddie just singing this kind of like cute little melody that's like adapted from that little motif there. This transition sound is a gluggle jug. It's like shaped like a fish, and you pour water into it, and it goes glug 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 glug. But underneath it, we've got the same thing that we've had the whole rest of the time. And that's how a lot of the tracks are basically composed on Bananamelia. So Marble Run has this one like bell motif that is playing throughout the track, and then the kind of the chords and the harmonization and the rhythms change under that. Whereas this track has this one kind of like harmonic idea, and actually this, you can see this one piano loop that plays through the whole song, and it gets like fully recontextualized by playing under this Heckers thing. Or then just by itself. And then later with this nice little vocal melody. And kind of the idea with the vocals and with everything that was like recorded, like physically recorded with a microphone for the record, is that it I want it to be like contrasting with the very like straight digital elements. So you hear like it's like Amelia's MIDI orchestra where she forgot to put the velocity in, and the like, I mean, the break adds like a kind of a slightly human element, because obviously it's like it is a recording of someone playing the drums, but it's so highly edited that it's very computer's music, whereas Maddie, she's just got some reverb. The saturator we looked at before, my favourite compressor that I use on everything on this record, apart from the things where I don't, and I just wanted it to sound like she was kind of like right there hanging out with you. And I think altogether it creates I mean, for me, it's a really nice kind of feeling with all of it together. Like this nice little blurring between like the pristine and the really kind of like human. And so we've had the digital earlier in the track, and then now at the end, well, first there's a fake out. Oh, I love the fake out. This is like, it was surprising to me coming back to this after having spent a while, not just listening to my own music all over again, realizing that this melody, this little instrument plays here at the start, totally disappears, and only comes back to pretend that it's gonna come back. And then it's gone from the rest of the record. And it even gets cut off by this telephone. This telephone is something I found somewhere, I don't remember, in like 2018, maybe even earlier than that. And since then, I've basically put it in every musical project that I've worked on, because it's like the platonic ideal of a telephone. Isn't it so good? It's like a bit shit, but also it just sounds like a telephone. And who doesn't love hearing the phone ring? The phone rings for thee. But yeah, so after the fake out, we go from this kind of blend, and before that we had like the very digital computer section, and now we're kind of just like hanging out. And the idea for this section, I basically wanted it to sound like you're kind of just like in the lounge. And I don't mean in the lounge music lounge. We've been in the lounge. We've been in the lounge music lounge the whole time. In the like, on your kind of like ratty secondhand sofa. And just like, maybe someone was like sitting in a chair, fucking around on the guitar playing The French Press by Bananamelia. So this is me playing the acoustic guitar. There's a little nylon string that I got from the Salvation Army. And I wish I still had it, but I gave it away. I gave it to someone who I felt like needed it more than I did. But now I don't remember why they needed it more than I did. And I'm like, I think I might still need it. I looked it up once, and it's like Italian, and it was called a parlor guitar because it was like 3/4, but it was very nice just to have around to kind of make ideas on. But then it ended up appearing on this record several times. So very kind of loosely recorded. I think I maybe just lent the SM57 on a desk and then played it standing up or something. I kind of just wanted it to sound, very loose. However, at the same time, and sorry for being slightly down, Buzz, just before making this album, I got arthritis. I mean, I got it, and then I was diagnosed with it. And so I had kind of like, when I started making this record, I had only kind of just started getting medicated for it, and so I could use my hands again and play instruments again, but I kind of had to relearn how to do that because everything felt differently. So I mean, it is intentionally kind of just like loosey-goosey, but it's also listen closely to the record and you can hear me learning how to use my hands again. So these two are just doubles of each other in stereo for a little bit more interest. And then this one, let's go back to it. It's like quite an odd harmonization of Maddie's melody / the violin's melody from before. It's just kind of like mixed in real quiet. And then what else have we got? We got the shaker. This is from a like 90 sample CD. I think it's Roland Foundations, that has a lot of very like cleanly recorded basic sounds that you can use for loads of stuff. And this is, I think, meant to just be the left ear of the shaker, but I like it. So it's doing it all. And then finally we got Maddie. Yeah, so we're out on the porch with Maddie. So you won't have heard this listening to the record, but originally this track had an ending. Like on the record, it just abruptly cuts out with another telephone and goes into Say Chic. But I didn't know that it was going to do that entirely. And so let's turn this back on. A little bit of the wobble lead coming back in. This is how this track was originally going to end. I got, basically after this track, I got much more canny about figuring out the transitions before I started the next track. But Marble Run and French Press kind of just, I was like, oh, I'll figure it out later. And then I realized you can't really just figure it out later with something like that. But yeah, here we go. Into the new material. It's the same as the old material. It's quite a cute little wind down. And actually, I really like listening to it back to prepare for this. I love this little phrasing of Maddie's right at the end. Oh, so really, it seems like a shame that I got rid of that. But look, I'm making it all seamlessly into a big thing. Apparently, much more important. And I think it kind of worked out in the end. But yeah, that is French Press. I'll see you in C'est Chic.